Good evening and welcome. I will now call the special board meeting of September 3rd, 2025 to order. The Durham District School Board acknowledges that many Indigenous nations have long-standing relationships, both historic and modern, with the territories upon which our school board and schools are located. Today, this area is home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island. We acknowledge that the Durham region forms a part of the traditional and treaty territory of the Mississaugas of Scugog Islands First Nation, the Mississauga peoples, and the treaty territory of the Chippewa of Georgina Islands First Nation. It is on these ancestral and treaty lands that we teach, learn, and live. Are there any declarations of interest? There are no declarations of interest at this time. Can I please have a mover and seconder to approve the agenda as distributed? Thank you, Trustee Edwards, and thank you, Trustee Cunningham. All in favour? The agenda is approved as distributed. We have one very important item on this agenda this evening. Before I turn it over to our director, I would like to welcome and thank the guests in our audience who are here to support our new Indigenous trustee. We appreciate you being here with us. I will now ask Director Williams-Taylor to conduct the declaration of office.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. Good evening and welcome to everyone. Tonight is a very special night, one where we have the privilege of welcoming Dr. Chad Cowie as First Nations representative trustee to the Board of Trustees. Chad is from the Mississauga Nishnawbe community of Hiawatha First Nation and is of the Caribou clan. After high school, Chad attended Western University, earning his honors Bachelor of Arts in Political Science and First Nation Studies before serving as a junior researcher and policy analyst for the Chiefs of Ontario. Chad then went on to obtain his Master of Arts in Political Science at the University of Manitoba and Doctor of Philosophy, PhD, at the University of Alberta. In addition to his research interests, Chad has also assisted and continues to assist with research and knowledge gathering on behalf of the Mississauga Nishnawbe Nation. It is my hope that this important appointment to the Board of Trustees will support the strengthening and continued growth of the meaningful partnership between treaty partners and the Durham District School Board, and that it will foster respectful collaboration. Mr. Cowie, would you please join me at the table next to the podium to complete your declaration?
I, Chadwick Cowie, do solemnly declare that I am not disqualified under any act from being a member of Durham District School Board. I will truly, faithfully, impartially, and to the best of my ability execute the office of board member, and that I have not received and will not receive any payment or reward or promise thereof for the exercise of any partiality or malversation or other undue execution of the said office, and that I will disclose any pecuniary interest, direct or indirect, as required by and in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act.
Thank you, Trustee Cowie, for joining the Durham District School Board of Trustees and for providing your guidance and perspective as a board member who understands the lived experiences, strengths, and needs of Durham District School Board students, families, employees, and community members who identify as First Nation, Métis, or Inuit. Please join your new colleagues at your seat, but we have to have a photo op first.
Welcome, Trustee Cowie. On behalf of the board, thank you for joining us in your new role. We look forward to working with you and learning from your experiences and expertise. Seeing no further business, can I please have a mover and seconder to adjourn this meeting? Thank you, Trustee Vice Chair Oldfield, and thank you, Trustee Linton. All in favour? Thank you. This meeting is now adjourned.
Good evening and welcome. I'll now call this meeting of September 3rd, 2025 to order. Welcome to the first Standing Committee meeting of the 2025-2026 school year. We have some new faces around the room today, and I'd like to share a warm welcome to Chad Cowie, our new Indigenous trustee, and our new student trustees, Maggie Rendor, Hansika Shetty, and Harshman Singh. We're glad to have you here joining us. The Durham District School Board acknowledges that many Indigenous nations have long-standing relationships, both historic and modern, with the territories upon which our school board and our schools are located. Today, this area is home to many Indigenous peoples from across Turtle Island. We acknowledge that the Durham region forms part of the traditional and treaty territory of the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation, the Mississauga peoples, and the treaty territory of the Chippewa of Georgina Island First Nation. It is on these ancestral and treaty lands that we teach, learn, and live. Are there any declarations of interest? Seeing no declarations of interest at this time, we'll move on to a motion to approve the agenda. Can I get a motion, a mover and a seconder? Trustee Miller, Trustee Jacula. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And now we're moving on to the community presentations, and we have two this evening. And the first one is the Teacher Mentors Abroad, and so I'd like to call Wendy Chan and Nancy Threen-Lorraine up to the podium. So, sorry, you'll hit the button on the mic there, and when it turns red, you'll be able to speak and probably just move it down a bit closer.
Good evening, everyone. I truly appreciate this opportunity to once again share the work for the nonprofit organization Teacher Mentors Abroad. In fact, this year, Teacher Mentors Abroad celebrates 20 years of volunteer work in the Dominican Republic. My name is Wendy Chan, and I'm currently in my 29th year of teaching here in the DDSB. I began volunteering for TMA in 2019, where I first traveled to Santo Domingo. The vision for this organization has its roots here in the Durham District School Board. While serving as a school trustee from 1997 to 2003, Nancy Threen-Lorraine, our current president, came to understand the role of professional development in quality education for students and desired that same quality for students in her homeland, the Dominican Republic. Furthermore, TMA has had 35 DDSB educators who have been on travel teams, committees, the board of directors, or as honorary members. There has been representation from all levels of education, including a past director of education, as well as several superintendents, principals, and teachers from both the elementary and secondary panels. These educators have brought their extensive knowledge in special education, curriculum, assessment, and effective instructional practices, to name a few. Evidently, Teacher Mentors Abroad has deep roots within the DDSB. Now I will give you a little background of how TMA's presence has grown in the Dominican Republic. Historically, the Dominican Republic has had among the lowest scores in reading, math, and science on PISA, the Program for International Student Assessment. In 2005, at the request of educators in a very marginalized school in the Dominican Republic, a group of Canadian educators traveled to the DR to provide workshops on best teaching and learning practices. The Canadian educators expected 20 educators to attend, and 80 educators ended up arriving. The Dominican educators said, "You've brought us the appetizer, now we want the full meal. We will be agents of change." Their intent was to change the educational system within their community. The following year, 120 educators attended the workshops, and what began at one site has now expanded to 4 locations throughout the country, with hundreds of Dominican educators attending annually. Most significantly, our Dominican mentor teams have begun to lead and co-lead the workshops. To supplement our work, TMA has invested in the purchase of professional resources in Spanish since they have been largely non-existent for educators in the Dominican Republic. For example, in order to support our Dominican colleagues, we purchased the resource Mentoring 101 and the translation and printing of a highly valued resource called Peace Learning Circles, formerly called Tribes. TMA has also purchased a number of Spanish picture books written by Dominican authors and published in the Dominican Republic. Private donors and grants from foundations and service clubs have helped to make these purchases possible. As previously mentioned, DDSB educators have been serving in key roles since the inception of TMA. This past summer, a team of 8 educators from the province, including 4 DDSB educators, Melanie O'Donnell, Lorianne Aldred, Karen Ovenden, and myself, worked in the municipality of Consuelo to begin the first year of our 3-year plan within this community. We selected this community for a number of reasons. First of all, the Grey Sisters, a passionate group of Canadian nuns, had a tremendous impact on transforming the school system in Consuelo. They believed that even in the poorest of communities, all children had the right to receive quality education. Since 1951, these sisters helped move the community of Consuelo out of impoverishment into a community of hope. The book, The Miracle of Consuelo, written by Dr. Leonor Almudesi, highlights the work of the nuns. To sum up her work, the nuns had set out to model values of love, unity, inclusion, and a sense of belonging, develop respect for cultural diversity, build a sense of community, present educators as role models, and promote the value of quality education. These principles directly correspond with the values of Teacher Mentors Abroad. Another reason why we selected the municipality of Consuelo had to do with one of the Grey Sisters named Sister Leonor. She selected Hector Santana, who you will see on the slide above, as a visionary leader. Hector is a principal in Consuelo who recognizes the impact that district-wide targeted support could have on quality education. Hence, he requested a partnership with TMA, knowing that we have the same values as the Grey Sisters. Another reason for our work in Consuelo has to do with the Whitby Sunrise Rotary Club. This organization has been doing work in Consuelo for many years. With that close-to-home connection, the Whitby Sunrise Rotary Club was quick to offer some monetary support and guidance to TMA's work in Consuelo. TMA's 3-year plan for Consuelo reflects a gradual release of responsibility model. This first year includes Canadian-led workshops presenting the strategies for inclusion within the Peace Learning Circles text, of which we did this past August. The theme of our work focused on using Peace Learning Circles to create inclusive classroom communities of belonging. The second year of our 3-year plan involves having Consuelo and Canadian-led workshops for new Consuelo recruits. Throughout that year, TMA will provide online mentor training to interested Year 1 participants with the hopes that they continue to outreach to more colleagues. Finally, Year 3 will consist of Consuelo mentor-led workshops for new Consuelo recruits. TMA and Consuelo mentors will document and provide evidence of progress in implementing Peace Learning Circle strategies. In the end, TMA hopes to provide a report on summarizing the impact and implementation of these strategies. Therefore, to begin this 3-year plan this past August, our Canadian team delivered 4 very well-received successful workshops to over 70 educators in Consuelo, using many of the techniques and cooperative learning strategies within the Peace Learning Circles resource. Our goal, as previously mentioned, was to emphasize the importance of and provide strategies for building classroom communities of belonging that are respectful and inclusive to all learners. I feel that being a member of TMA is part of my role as an educator. It is there that I can help other educators to realize their own ability to be agents of change. When I work with these amazing educators, they continue to inspire and push me to be a better educator and a better global citizen. The partnerships that I have shared and the professional learning that I have gained has been truly invaluable. As we concluded our work in Consuelo this August, one of our mentors, Santa Desir, and you'll see her on the slide above, from Consuelo, shared this letter that she wrote for us, and I would like to share a translation of her words with you now. There is an immense feeling that lifts me up every year when I come to these workshops. I can't express my gratitude in a single word. I give my sincere gratitude for the time, effort, and dedication that you have put into this project. Your commitment and dedication are an inspiration to all of us. We know in our hearts that solidarity and teamwork can transform realities. Thank you, because without having resources or sponsorship, you look for ways to impact the lives of hundreds of teachers every year. And that's why Teacher Mentors Abroad does what it does. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from trustees? Seeing none, thank you very much for the presentation.
Can I just add one comment,
Yes.
Madam Chair?
Sure.
And that is that I don't think she mentioned it, but these educators all self-fund. So this is their contribution as well to global citizenship. And I think it goes without saying that it's quite a sacrifice to not only self-fund, but give the weeks and time in preparation for the trip, as well as being down there. So I know that they receive a lot in terms of preparing them for coming back into their classrooms or into their school systems, but it's a real sacrifice, and yet it goes without saying how far that benefit goes to educators. Thank you very much. It's good to be back in the Durham District School Board. It's been 22 years since I was a trustee, but I value the role you play in keeping this such a great public education system. So thank you to each one of you for all your commitment to education.
Thank you. Okay, next presentation is Protecting French Immersion in Ajax and Beyond. And I will call on Yatu, Jida, and Pedram to come up to the podium. Or I have two people. Same thing, press the button.
We have to press. Hi, good evening, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. We are a group of concerned parents from Michael Jean Public School who are here today to advocate for equitable, accessible French immersion programs in North Ajax and beyond. Focus on removing enrollment barriers for French immersion, discuss concerns that are grounded in data, lived experience, and community input. We are here to share our findings and to call upon you to please work toward actionable solutions for equitable access to French immersion as a whole in Durham. Over the past several months, our group has been listening to families, reviewing school board policies, and analyzing demographic and logistical factors that impact enrollment. What's become clear is that there are 4 key areas contributing to lower than expected enrollment and affecting access to French immersion in our region. These challenges are: number 1, the removal of kindergarten from single-track French immersion schools, outdated boundaries that do not reflect current growth or demographic trends, uncoordinated bell times between French immersion schools and their feeder schools, and just a general lack of public awareness about the French immersion program, especially among newcomers to the region. Each of these points are important on its own, but together they create significant systemic barriers that deserve attention. For today's presentation, we're only going to highlight 3 of the above challenges, and we'll take you through each one of them now.
The removal of full-day kindergarten from single-track French immersion schools significantly altered the enrollment landscape. Previously, FI schools hosted their own kindergarten program, which meant students had a seamless path into grade 1 with no disruptions. Families who were attending these schools for kindergarten saw the benefits of French immersion firsthand. This also guaranteed FI schools a steady group of at least 30 students moving into grade 1 each September. Now families must register their child at an English track school for kindergarten, and then decide to make a switch to a new school for grade 1 for French immersion. As you can imagine, once a child is settled into their school community, many parents are understandably reluctant or anxious to make the switch, especially when their child is already thriving socially and or academically. Based on our discussions with families and community members, the true impact of this barrier is huge and is one of the reasons why enrollment has declined so dramatically. We're asking the board to re-examine the effects of this policy change and to consider whether reintroducing kindergarten or even piloting it at a school such as Michael-Jean might be part of a solution to stabilizing and strengthening French immersion enrollment. The second topic is outdated boundaries. We recognize that the catchment areas and boundaries are largely based on information predicted by the town and developers, and they can change. It is, however, important that we are proactive in assessing the impact of this unforeseen changes. One such example of outdated boundaries affecting FI enrollment is at Michael-Jean. A significant portion of the school boundaries includes protected greenbelt lands, hydro corridors, and areas where no new housing is planned or even permitted as per the Town of Ajax's official plan. The school's catchment is largely static, especially as the population of the surrounding area matures. By contrast, Cataraqui Public School, which also offers French immersion, pulls from more than 7 different feeder schools. Families living closer to MJPS and newer high-density developments, especially young families and newcomers, are often outside the current boundary despite being geographically nearby. As an example, we are busing kids from Viola Desmond catchment to a school that is farther away and housing kids in portables, rather than sending them to a shorter distance to a building with empty classrooms. All of this supports there being room to rebalance enrollment between FI sites. Enrollment projection data from the board shows that if no action is taken, Michael-Jean will have gone from the heaviest enrolled FI school to the least enrolled in a span of a few short years. We're asking the board to start a boundary review with the goal of rebalancing the division of French immersion schools and aligning boundaries with the most recent population growth patterns.
The final concern is deeply rooted in equity and access. For families who are not educated in Ontario, especially newcomer families, or those who arrived from non-French speaking countries, the concept of French immersion may be something they don't know or understand. That this isn't because they're uninterested, but because the information simply doesn't reach them. A lot of the information present is only online. There's currently no awareness campaigns explaining what French immersion is, why families are encouraged to choose it, and what long-term benefits it offers, such as multilingualism, cognitive enrichment, cultural literacy, diversity sensitivity, post-secondary career advantages, and etc. Worse still, the information that does exist is mostly only provided in English. This leaves out many families who might speak a third language at home and may be navigating a new school system for the first time. Unless a parent has direct contact who encourages them to look into French immersion, they are unlikely to find or fully understand what the program has to offer their child. This becomes a systemic equity issue. Immigrant and newcomer families, who are a major part of the Durham region, are not being offered the same access to French immersion education and its plethora of benefits as families who are more familiar with the system. We are asking the board to please prioritize outreach and communication about the French immersion program, including multilingual materials that are easily accessible, or better still, overtly shared, to avoid leaving the burden of families to find them, particularly for those navigating a predominantly English system and for whom English is not their most comfortable language. Community information sessions that bring the information and the program advocates to the families instead of relying on families to accept the invitations to French immersion information nights. school-based promotion, particularly in high diversity areas, and requirements that English track schools share French immersion information, its benefits and engagement opportunities with family and students that are of high quality, board-created, and multilingual. Improving awareness is a critical yet crucial step toward building inclusive, thriving French immersion schools.
To summarize, we are not just presenting concerns, we hope to be presenting opportunities for meaningful and achievable change. In the appendix, we've outlined how our concerns and solutions, we believe, are aligned with the DDSB's multi-year strategic plan. We've also tried to show what the impact of ignoring these concerns in the current environment will have on the ground in a school like McKeljean. We respectfully ask the board to take the following steps: re-examine the decision to remove kindergarten from single-track French immersion schools, to initiate a boundary review for French immersion schools, where possible, work toward better coordination of bell times between FI schools and their feeder schools, and finally, increase public awareness about the French immersion program, especially in communities with high numbers of immigrants and newcomer families. We hope that these are actionable steps the board can take to strengthen French immersion equitably and fairly, and to ensure that these schools and the students they serve have the best chance to succeed. We appreciate your time, and thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from trustees? Trustee Edwards? It doesn't say it's you, so.
Thank you, Chair Oldfield. I'm assuming you cut this down to 3 points because of time, but I was wondering if you could give me a very quick rundown of the issue with bell times.
No problem. So basically, especially for the kids who are in kindergarten and the families who have multiple child, for example, and we're very familiar with McKeljean, obviously that's why we keep raising that as an example, but the closest school and the school that would normally be for kindergarten is about a 1 hour time difference for the first bell. So parents who have a child in kindergarten and another child in French immersion, they could just be 1 hour of having to wait around or be late for work, so it just makes it difficult from that point of view. We left it out, yes, mostly because of time, and largely because if the first point is taken care of, this point becomes less relevant.
Trustee Jaculo?
It's Trustee Edwards. Yep, we're switch one seat.
Okay, just so you know, when I have my glasses on to look here, I can't see out there, so you're gonna have to give me a sec then if the names aren't actually right. But go ahead, someone will turn on your mic at some point.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I appreciate the presentation. It's really, I'm just an ask if, through the chair, if the presentation can be distributed to trustees, because I don't think that they all received the presentation in advance. Particularly, you referenced the appendix. If you just briefly, could you talk about generally what the appendix contained and where your data sources were, please? Thanks.
I need the mic on at the podium, please.
So the appendix, essentially, it's a bunch of graphs showing the data that we talked about. So largely, it's going to, Appendix A is showing you the enrollment data and shows that other than Rosemary Brown, most of the schools, the enrollment is dropping. And Appendix B, so it's, wish I could show it here. So Appendix B, similar data, it's regarding the feeder schools. Some of these data is slightly misleading in that just because it's feeding the school doesn't mean it's the entire school population. So for example, some districts, obviously only a few streets are feeding the schools such as McKeljean.
Yeah.
Appendix C, C2, same thing. It's largely showing all the data pulled out from the site. And D and E are showing largely, actually I'd say D, E, and G are showing all of the boundaries, population growth boundaries, and what it looks like when you overlap them. And Appendix F, we used AI to give us some ideas as well about how to rebalance some of the spread of the catchments and the population growth. And the last slide is basically how we believe it aligns with the multi-year strategic plan.
Trustee Cowie?
Thank you. Just a quick question. It was mentioned there's no longer providing of natural pathways into French immersion for grade 1. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Sure.
Thank you.
Largely, it was more straightforward and simpler when the child went to the school and they got used to the environment. It just became less of a question. It was more, this is where I'm going for grade 1. Whereas now, parents have to first put the child in the English track school. They get comfortable there. So it might not be a matter of not wanting to go to French immersion, but once you're at a school, you might just get comfortable, make friends, and if not everyone's going, it just makes it more difficult. Both my children did start, my son started at SK basically when the school opened, and my daughter started at JK, and there was never really a thought that they're going to any other school. Those were their friends. That was the teachers. That was their school.
Chair Brown?
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I more than understand the immigrant side of when we first came to Canada as well, of not even knowing what French immersion is. So one of the questions I do have is that, based on the slides that I saw, are you saying that there needs to be more information regarding French immersion through the DDSB site and in different languages? Is that what I'm hearing? I'm just wanting to clarify.
Yes, so a lot of the information that is present online, it's provided in English, and the catchment and the neighborhood surrounding Michael Jean and other dual track or single track French schools, those immigrant families are scared to put their children in French speaking schools because they themselves don't have knowledge of or awareness of the supports that those children can get. And the information is not readily available unless they're speaking to another parent.
One more point maybe is also that if possible, to actually push that information out via roadshows or something similar, and to have a policy by which English track schools, single track schools, do require to allow or to encourage that awareness at least. Doesn't mean that you must force people into French immersion, but at least give the information, because even if it's available on the site, if I'm unaware of knowing that it's a possible option for me or knowing what the benefits could be for my family, it would be lovely that it's there, but step one might be also pushing it towards families just for awareness.
Okay, seeing no further questions, thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 6, recommended actions, and I'm looking for a mover to approve the standing committee meeting minutes of June 2nd, 2025. Trustee Jacula, a seconder, Trustee Thatcher. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Next is motion anti-Semitism in Ontario schools, and I'm going to turn it over to Trustee Cunningham.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. As a trustee and as a Jewish parent, I want to share some key findings from the federal government's recent report on anti-Semitism in Ontario schools. The report gives us an important data that we cannot ignore, but also an opportunity to strengthen the work we are already doing to make our schools safe and inclusive for every child. Between October 2023 and January 2025, the study surveyed nearly 600 Jewish parents. Across those 600 Jewish parents, they documented 781 anti-Semitic students in schools across Ontario, so 781 incidents across 600 parents. Some of the findings are stark. Over 40% of these incidents involved explicit Nazi imagery or rhetoric. 1 in 6 incidents were linked to classroom settings or school-sanctioned activities. Almost half of incidents reported by families were not formally investigated, and in fewer than 1/3 of cases were meaningful steps taken, such as counseling, discipline, or programs to promote understanding. The report also highlights the emotional toll on students. About 1/3 felt anger, more than 1/4 felt fear about returning to school, and another 1/4 reported social isolation. Some students even asked their parents not to report incidents, worrying that it would make things worse. And significantly, 16% of families moved or are considering moving their children to different schools, often Jewish private day schools, because they perceived them as safer. Taken together, these findings paint a clear picture. Anti-Semitism is very real in Ontario schools, and it is affecting student safety and well-being. But this is also where we, as a board, have the ability to lead. The report is not about assigning blame. It is about recognizing that anti-Semitism is showing up in ways that are often unreported, unrecognized, or misunderstood, and making sure that we are equipped to respond. That's why tonight I am bringing forward a motion asking for a staff report on action items to address anti-Semitism. This will give us a clearer picture of where our current practices are strong, where there may be gaps, and what additional steps, such as training, supports for students, and better reporting processes we can take. Our goal is to ensure that every student, including Jewish students, feels safe to come to school, proud of who they are, and confidence that incidents of hate will be addressed seriously. With this report as a guide, and with the leadership of our staff and community, I am confident we can strengthen our response and set a standard of inclusion for all. Thank you. Could we put the motion up, please? So I move that the Board of Trustees request staff to provide a report outlining how the DDSB is addressing anti-Semitism within our schools. This report should include current initiatives already in place, as well as any additional measures being considered in light of the recent Government of Canada report on anti-Semitism in Ontario schools. This report should be provided to the Board of Trustees before December 1st, 2025.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Trustee Thatcher?
I second the motion.
Okay, Trustee Cunningham, that was a pretty fulsome introduction, so I'm gonna think that you don't need to speak to it first. Am I right? Okay. Any questions for Trustee Cunningham? Comments? Trustee Pinello?
Thank you, Chair. Through you. Can I just confirm, is this motion also a recommendation coming through the working group that there is? Or is this individual, or is it a combination of both?
So my hope and my understanding is that the results from the working group will be incorporated into the staff report. So it'll be one of the information sources coming back, because I know that the working group had 3 core areas to work on and came out with a number of solutions that the board has already put into motion or is putting forward into motion, so that would be reflected in the report.
Seeing no further speakers, I just ask that before you vote that you use our brand new, nicely laminated voting cards. So all those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Information items. So first up is student trustee introductory report, and I'll turn it over to who's going to speak to this first. Trustee Rendor, student trustee Rendor.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. Good evening, trustees, director, staff, and members of the community. We are honored to be here today and to serve as student trustees for the 2025 to 2026 school year. My name is Maggie Rendor, and I am a grade 12 student at R.S. McLaughlin in Oshawa. For as long as I can remember, I have always sought out opportunities to be involved in leadership, our community, and student advocacy. I truly believe that student voice is a big part of the backbone of education, which is why I am wholeheartedly stepping into this position with drive, commitment, and most of all, enthusiasm. Outside of leadership in school, I express a keen interest in arts and athletics, being a theater kid as well as a tennis player. In the future, I hope to pursue studies in health sciences and psychology.
My name is Hans Cachetti, and I'm a grade 12 student at J. Clark Richardson Collegiate in Ajax. I have a strong passion for leadership, amplifying student voices, and making school a more supportive and inclusive place for everyone. I've been involved in student government since grade 4, and this past year, I had the privilege of serving as the chair of student success on the DDSB Student Senate. I'm stepping into this role with a solid foundation of leadership, diverse experiences, and a deep commitment to representing student perspectives at the board level. In addition to leadership, I am a trained Indian classical dancer, and I hope to pursue studies in economics and law in the future.
My name is Harshman Singh, and I'm a grade 12 student at Pine Ridge Secondary School. I've always been passionate about economics, public policy, and mathematics, and I enjoy exploring how ideas in these areas connect to the real decisions that affect students and communities. Over the past year, I had the privilege of serving as the president of the DDSB Student Senate, working with student leaders across the board to strengthen student voice. Outside of academics, I'm an avid cricketer and enjoy spending time with friends in nature where I find balance and perspective.
Together, we represent the diverse voices of students across the entire Durham District School Board, which are voices that are passionate about our futures and deeply invested in our well-being.
As we begin the new school year, our goal is to ensure that student perspectives are meaningfully brought into every conversation and considered when decisions are made about policies, strategies, and processes that impact our learning.
We look forward to connecting with student leaders through the Student Senate, listening to the priorities and experiences of all our peers, and amplifying their insights at the board table. Our goal is to use this platform to organize events, workshops, and initiatives that positively shape the educational experience of all students.
Throughout the school year, we also hope to strengthen communication between students and the board, bridging the gap between classrooms and the board office so that every student's voice is valued and heard.
As we plan and carry out this work, we will continue to ground ourselves in the board's multi-year strategic plan, igniting connection, igniting learning, and supporting student well-being.
Thank you to the trustees and senior staff team for the warm welcome as we get used to our new roles and for the opportunity to learn from your leadership. We are excited to work together to make this a successful year for all students.
Thank you. That concludes our report.
Thank you. Any questions on the student trustee report? Trustee Cunningham?
Thank you. I just wanted to say welcome to all three of you. We're really happy to have you here and looking forward to getting to know you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the OPSPA update. And we're going to Trustee Miller.
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity to share. As a proud member of the Black Trustees Caucus, BTC, I am a member, and at the table we have, including myself, 5 members of the Black Trustee Caucus. I would like to share some important developments related to our commitment to equity and student achievement. Recently, I had the privilege of meeting with the Honorable Paul Calandra, Minister of Education, to discuss strategies of improving outcomes for Black students across our province. This meeting was an important step in aligning our local efforts with provincial priorities. We also received valuable updates from the Ontario Human Rights Commission, which emphasized the ongoing need to address systemic barriers and promote human rights within our educational system. Their guidance reinforces our responsibility to foster inclusive, respectful learning environments. How does this connect to our local work? Well, our board is actively working on initiatives that support these goals, such as reviewing our curriculum, making sure that they're inclusive and representative, providing professional development for staff on anti-oppression and anti-racism, and creating mentorship opportunities for Black students. These efforts are critical in closing achievement gaps and ensuring all students feel valued and supported. The role of the BTC and our collective efforts as members of the Black Trustees Caucus, we are committed to advocating for these changes and supporting teachers and students. Our collective voice helps ensure that anti-oppression, anti-racism, and equity remain priorities at every level of education. In sum, this provides us with a call to action on ongoing collaboration. Achieving these goals requires collaboration between our educators, families, trustees, community partners, and students. I now encourage everyone here to stay engaged and share ideas and support ongoing initiatives that promote equity. Together with the work of our board, BTC, and community partners, we can make a real progress toward creating an education system where every student has the chance to succeed. Thank you all for your ongoing support and commitment to this important work.
Thank you. Any questions on the OPSPA report? Seeing none, thank you. And next up is the Ignite Durham Learning Foundation update, and I'll turn it over to Trustee Arsenault.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. This summer, the Ignite Durham Learning Foundation soared to new heights, empowering students, celebrating supporters, and delivering real impact across the community. We have a couple of things that they've done this summer, and I just want to point them all out. The first one is standing ovation event. We concluded this year with a heartfelt standing ovation event, giving schools, school leaders, school secretaries, IDLF partners and donors and supporters a chance to shop for luxury items completely free. It was IDLF's way of saying thank you. Thank you to all they've done, for all they've done and helped out. This was able to happen thanks to the generosity of Souls for Souls and Tapestry Inc. The second event that was powerful was their bargain sale. Some of you may have seen emails regarding the bargain sale. I'm thrilled to share with everyone that IDLF hosted 2 extremely successful bargain sales over the summer, raising over $3,600 this funds will directly support numerous children throughout the upcoming school year, ensuring they have the tools and resources they need to thrive through this coming year. The third initiative was the 50 for You and 50 for Kids raffle. IDLF's 50 for You and 50 for Kids raffle continued to gain traction. While a few lucky winners have taken home some prizes, the biggest winners are our Durham students, with 50% of the proceeds going directly towards addressing their essential needs. After the Bell program, in partnership with Feed the Need, the After the Bell program was a tremendous success. Every Tuesday, the IDLF van traveled across the region from Pickering to Oshawa and all the way up to Beaver River Public School, delivering over 750 food hampers. Thanks to generous donors, they were able to distribute thousands of dollars of grocery cards and provide critical support during the summer months when student meal programs were not available. The region of Durham, Grant, and North Depot. IDLF is honored to have received a very generous grant from the region of Durham to combat food insecurities in North Durham. With the funding, IDLF is working with school leaders from Beaver River Public School, McCaskill Mills, Brooklyn High, Sutherland Public School, to establish a new North Depot, a local hub designed to provide food, essential sources, to support students and families in the North. Tim Hortons in-school leadership program is pleased to announce a new collaboration with Tim Hortons. Several of our priority schools will now take part in a free leadership program designed to support grade 5 and grade 6 students developing leadership abilities and pro-social skills through engaging in experimental learning. Operation Backpack. Operation Backpack came out once again. The campaign marked groundbreaking for the region, collaborating for the first time with it's the first kind for the united efforts across Durham region. 6 organizations, including the Ignite Durham Learning Foundation, Durham Children's Aid Durham Children's Aid Foundation, Durham's Community Health Center, Simcoe Hall, Settlement House, St. Andrew's Community Food Bank, and United Way of Durham Region all joined forces to support students returning to school. Thanks to this collaboration, they have come together with 7,000 fully stuffed backpacks that were distributed across Durham region in the 2 weeks leading up to the first day of school. Starting of school, ensuring students began the year ready with confidence and equipped with dignity. Sorry, one second. IDLF is also housing the additional supplies at the Make a Difference Depot, ready to support any students still needing a backpack, lunch bag, water bottle, or supplies. From the standing ovation, bargain sale raffle, after Bell North Depot, leadership program, backpacks, each initiative reflects IDLF's ongoing commitment to uplift Durham students. We are grateful to IDLF partners, the donors, community supporters for helping to remove barriers, lighten the way for a brighter tomorrow for all of our students here in Durham. Thank you.
I just have a question. I think I heard you say that the discount sales were raised 3,600, but you meant 36,000, right?
My bad. Yes.
Okay, big, because that's a big difference. Any other questions for Trustee Arsenault? Seeing none. Moving on to item D, Sunderland Public School Child Care Facility Media Advisory and Message to Families, and I'll turn it over to AD David Wright.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This item actually started as a correspondence item on our agenda, but given the impact of the situation to some DDSB families, we wanted to address it a bit more proactively. We'll acknowledge, starting off, that this is an unfortunate situation, and it is a lost opportunity, and that there is indeed a need for childcare in the community. We've communicated the situation to trustees and to the community, but to reiterate, We did have an approved childcare capital project that had an estimated cost to construct well in excess of the $1.6 million funding amount. The approval process for the project at the time required us to request additional funds to cover the cost of the project, to request the funds for the Ministry of Education, and though the ministry offered to increase the funding by $400,000, it left an unfunded gap of about $3.5 million remaining. As part of the offer to increase the funding by $400,000, the ministry communicated that if we couldn't find partners and cover the cost difference, we were to let them know and the project would be canceled. And that is in fact what happened. We were unable to secure partners to help bridge the cost gap, and the project was subsequently canceled. This happened in 2023. One of the most unfortunate parts is that this information has been embargoed by the Ministry of Education, and therefore DDSB was not able to share it with the community publicly until the embargo was lifted, and we did communicate in July. And if there are any other additional questions, happy to answer them. Thanks.
Seeing none?
Yes.
Sorry, Carolyn, I can't see you out there. I'm glad you yelled at me. Go ahead,
I'm
Trustee
here.
Morton.
Thank you. I would like to speak to this. I want to say firstly, thank you to staff for sharing this information. But I do have to say that I and the Sunderland community are extremely disappointed in this outcome. In fact, many families in Brock Township, and particularly in the Sunderland community, are placed in very difficult positions because of the scarcity of childcare facilities in the area. I well remember 4 years ago standing at the front of Sunderland Public School with many others, including Laurie Scott, our MPP for the area, when we were announcing that we're going to proceed with the expansion of the childcare facility on these premises. The community was very pleased to hear that their voices were being heard and that their needs were being met. But we can now see the need for financial resources became problematic. I want to draw your attention to the petition created by local resident Allison Hart, and this petition is included in the correspondence section in the agenda. Excuse me. In particular, I would like you to focus on the third paragraph of her petition. Allison states that Sunderland Public School is the heart of our small community, and many families depend on it for more than just education. It's a crucial part of our child care network. In rural Durham, our DDSB schools serve as community hubs. Our schools are extremely important to the entire community. So I can well understand the level of angst and frustration which was created when our local families were informed that this vital project was not being pursued. They've been waiting patiently for this construction to begin for the past 4 years. It is my hope that this decision can be revisited as we endeavor to support our students and their families. I'm asking staff to share with us possible pathways moving forward so that a reconsideration, excuse me, of this important, very much needed project can be made. Where do we go from here? Thank you.
Trustee Cunningham?
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I'm sure this has already been considered, but is there no ability to expand at all within the $2 million allotted? Is there no middle ground where the funding that we have been granted could be used?
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. Respectfully, I think it's a moot conversation at this point because the project was canceled in 2023. So I don't think that this money is being held by the Ministry of Education for this project for us. My understanding is the project has been canceled. If I may, through you, Madam Chair, address Trustee Morton's question about a path forward. I don't know that there's a good path forward. I know the Ministry of Education does have a capital projects program. They call for capital priorities projects on a somewhat annual basis. I don't believe that standalone childcare projects have been considered in the call for capital priorities projects. Certainly we can keep an eye out for that next call and see if this might be an eligible project. And I don't know if the Ministry of Education's position will have changed on the amount that it would cost to construct the childcare. But certainly at the next opportunity, Trustee Morton, we will put this project back in front of the ministry and see if we can move it forward.
Thank you.
Trustee Thatcher?
Thank you, Chair. I don't want to repeat what has already been stated by Trustee Morton. I just want to say that, you know, in many of our communities around the Durham board, we have parents do have a lot of opportunities to enroll their children in many daycare centers in the community. This is a community where that is not the situation, and I would fully support any opportunity to provide this child care center for our families in Sunderland. Thank you.
Seeing no further questions, we're going to move to correspondence. There's a number of items under correspondence, so I'm going to go through each one, look around briefly. If you'd like to speak to that issue, just hit your microphone, but there are a number here. So first one is the Township of Brock Resolution Re Childcare in Sunderland petition. We've dealt with that. Next is the Town of Whitby request for October 26, 2026 PA Day. Trustee Thatcher?
Thank you, Chair. I was just looking for a little clarification around our past practice with regards to the having a PA day on that particular election day. And I seem to feel that we have provided an opportunity for our gyms to be used to accommodate that. Our gyms have separate entrances, and I think that that's kind of how I saw it. It isn't all schools that would be participating, so I'm just kind of a couple of things, couple of questions. What have we done in the past with regards to this? And is there consideration for a PA day when only a few of our schools would participate?
Okay, over to Associate Director Markowski.
Thank you, and through you, Chair Oldfield. In response to your questions, Trustee Thatcher, we have absolutely received similar requests in the past, and we've been able to accommodate them through the school year calendar process. Similarly, we have made note of the memo. We will, when we work through the school year calendar process for 26-27, we will take the request into consideration and bring that forward to trustees in February. But I don't want to speak prematurely. I do think there's room to accommodate the request.
Okay, I'm seeing no further questions. The next is the Town of Ajax Local Councillor Castlefield Area Student Access and Infrastructure Update to assess impact. Next is QP 218, Durham Education Workers. Next is the OSSTF petition to increase Ontario's investment in public education. Trustee Pinello.
Thank you, Chair, through you. I want to draw attention to this petition because there was a call to action for trustees for our consideration, and so if I could, I'd like to move the portion of the petition that asked for us to call upon the Government of Ontario to instigate a couple of commitments. So if I could read it into the record, or if, Jillian, if you already have it, I'm happy to save everyone the
Yeah,
sound of my voice.
If it's possible to put it up on the screen, can you do that, Jillian? Yeah. I almost feel like I should be like entertaining her for this. Take the pressure off, Jillian, trying to get this up on the screen. Do you want to read it while she's typing it, Trustee Pinello? Give us something to, oh, here it is. It's,
Well, if you insist, I was trying to save everyone from having to listen. So just for folks who may not be aware of what I'm looking at, it's the Better Schools, Stronger Communities petition to increase Ontario's investment in public education, which is a very timely conversation given the presentation we just heard, or the correspondence we just reviewed. The petition asks the DDSB to pass a motion to call upon the Government of Ontario to immediately, 1, increase annual government investments in public education to ensure Ontario schools can provide the best opportunities for education and student growth. 2, provide immediate and dedicated funding to address the growing backlog of school repairs and maintenance needed to ensure every school is a safe and healthy environment to learn and work. And 3, end the recruitment and retention crisis to ensure that every student has the teachers and education workers they need to support their success each and every day. So this has come from OSSTF to us to then pass this motion directed at the Government of Ontario. Thank you, Chair.
do I have a seconder? Trustee Cunningham? Seconded by Trustee Cunningham. Trustee Pinello, would you like to speak to it?
I'll speak briefly, and if any of my colleagues haven't had the chance to read some of the whereas statements, I think it's just a reminder of the challenges that education is facing currently from a funding perspective. I think our childcare in Sunderland is just one example of ways in which we know that there are a great number of financial constraints on our board and boards across the province. And I think it's a timely call to action in this week of back to school for many to remind folks and remind, those who work in the public sector and serve the same communities we serve, that our needs are growing, particularly in Durham, where we are growing exceptionally fast. and that this is an important call to action that I was happy to put forward and amplify, and hope that that sentiment is shared around the table. Thank you.
Trustee Edwards?
Thank you. And although I agree overall as a province that, you know, education funding, we're short for particular areas, I have a problem with some of the statements in here, because if we're talking on behalf of our board, we do not, as a board, if you look at our data and our accommodations report, we don't have a backlog of school repairs and maintenance needed to ensure the safety of schools, safe thing. Is there things that we could do? We wish to do a little bit more, yes, but we don't have a backlog. Our facility index is in pretty good shape, and it's being addressed through our accommodations review and through capital expenditures. There is a priority process. There is a process with that. The second thing is that, you know, again, we have to recognize some of the work that has been done around the recruitment and tension crisis throughout the province. And recently, just I think yesterday or today, there was an announcement that the government had provided additional funding for a northern university to increase the program. There has been changes that have been basically asked of the Ontario Teachers Colleges to address some of these. So I really have a problem the way it's worded, and that this would be something that I would see at OPSPA level, where we're looking as far as a provincial thing, but it's not something that I feel comfortable. Basically, at this point in time, and in the climate right now as well, where, you know, we are constantly ridiculed as trustees about being frivolous and spending money where it isn't, and there's many of our boards basically under supervision. So particularly this two of the points in particular do not really meet the criteria in the Durham board based on our data, based on the information that we provide. So I cannot support this motion as is. Thank you.
Trustee Arsenault?
I would like to, I agree with Trustee Edwards. There are some points where we can do a little bit better, but the wording of this doesn't, for me, resonate with our board. I think that I don't want to repeat what she just said, but there are some points, I think we just have to change the wording. I don't think that this reads as our board. If I look at this kind of looks like other boards possibly. So if we can do something about the wording of that so it reflects our board.
I think I speak in favor of the motion. I think that we do have issues around maintenance, repairs, or expansions. Daycare is one of them. I know that when I, do school visits, when I was at RS McLaughlin, and students are having phys ed in the hallway because the gym is inadequate, but that is a large item that we don't have funds for. So I think that when you're out there, and I would point out that this isn't a broad provincial OSSTF petition. This is one that's coming from the district that represents the DDSB. So they are the people out there actually working and functioning within the buildings and teaching within those buildings. So I feel like they have a good sense of what's happening in the schools and where they're falling short and what they actually need. Trustee Cunningham.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I seconded this motion, and I speak in favor of it as well. I think that we have a duty to, of course, speak on our own board and our own needs, but I think we have some ability as well to speak on behalf of all students across the province. We are fortunate that our board is in a healthy financial situation. We are fortunate that we passed a budget that I think we all felt pretty good about, but not every board is in that situation, and I personally am in favor of equity across Ontario, and where some boards are struggling, all boards ought to pay attention and do our best to help out with that. So I really support backing up our local high school teachers as well as high school teachers across the province and students everywhere in Ontario.
Trustee Pinello.
Thank you, Chair. Much of what I was going to say, Trustee Cunningham just did, and so I'll just appreciate both contributions from yourself and Trustee Cunningham and reiterate the need for equity in this case and clarify that while it is local folks who are asking us to back their community call for advocacy in the ways that we can, I also strongly disagree with this idea of separating us and them and othering boards who are in a more precarious situation than we are. I think solidarity goes a long way. I think community goes beyond just Durham Region's borders. And I do think it's fairly disappointing to say just because it's not our situation today, it's not somebody else's. And in the terms of OPSPA, that's Ontario-wide, and as trustees who are part of OPSPA, I feel a strong commitment to students across this province, whether they're in Oshawa or outside of the Durham region. And so I can understand we would have crafted this motion perhaps differently in our own wording if it had come from us. But that's not what we're looking at. It's coming from a community group and a union who is working in our schools, who are asking us to support their advocacy by endorsing what they're asking for and pushing it up the ladder. So I just wanted to reframe that because I think nitpicking language that we will either support or not based on our votes around things that are truly based in equity and not worded and crafted by us can't be compared to the same standard that we would take through healthy debate if we were crafting a motion to say the exact same thing. So, thank you, Chair.
Seeing no further questions, I'm gonna...
Excuse me, I think my hand is
Trustee
up.
Morton, go ahead.
I'm listening to all of those comments and I appreciate all. And when we are advocating then on behalf of everybody in the province, not necessarily in the region of Durham, so could we make some minor changes and in the wording talk about students in the province of Ontario, or in the last one to support all students in our province? That kind of wording, would that appease everybody?
So do you want to say that again so that Jillian can capture it? Would it be yeah. Are you? First thing, Trustee Martin, are you moving an amendment? And if you are, can you tell us, can you set it out clearly so that Jillian can capture it?
I am moving the amendment, and the amendment could be applied to all three of those statements. So the first one, it does say Ontario schools. So we could leave that as it is. But number two, to ensure every school in the province of Ontario is a safe and healthy environment. And number three, as the teachers and education workers, they need to support their success each and every year, again, in the province of Ontario.
Okay, is there someone to second that amendment? Trustee Arsenault. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, I'm going to ask you to use your cards on the amendment. So you're voting on Carolyn's amendment. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And so back to the main motion. Any further discussion, questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you, Carolyn.
Thank you.
Last on the correspondence list is Ajax MPP AI tools to support students and teachers in the DDSB. Seeing no questions or comments, that brings us to the end of the agenda. Can I have a mover and a seconder to adjourn? Trustee Arsenault, Trustee Cunningham, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Good evening.